Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Today we are talking about home ownership. So, the initial steps that people can take for home ownership. Today's Facebook Live is going to be fairly quick, so I definitely advise you to tune in again next week so that we can discuss home ownership more in depth. But today's Facebook Live is going to be about 15 minutes. And if you have questions, if you have future show topics, please remember to leave a comment in the comment section. Also, if you think these Facebook Lives, Finance Friday Live, if you think these sessions would be helpful to a friend, definitely feel free to share it. Let them know that we're talking about financial like staying out of debt and financial peace and just getting your house in order this year. So again, we started Cleverly Changing with Finance Fridays about 6 years ago. And I would write a post about it. So this year in 2017, we're taking it a little further and not just sharing a post and some helpful tips, but we're actually having a discussion about it. So if you have questions, definitely make it interactive. Feel free to give us some thumbs up or hearts or, angry face, whatever, just interact. We want to hear from you. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Let me give you a little background about me and then we'll move on from there. So regarding home ownership, I bought my first home with my husband. We were 24, I was 24 years old and he was 25. We purchased our second home. I was 31, 32. I think I was 32. Maybe 33. Okay, clearly. I'm not even sure how old I am now. But anyway, so about almost 10 years later, 9 years after we purchased our first home, we bought our second home. So I was 33. And I want to share with you some things that we learned because when we bought our initial home, it definitely was a learning process for us. So I want to be transparent with you. I want you to understand what steps you should take. And if there's any questions that you have, feel free to ask and I will definitely share with you. So when we purchased our first home, we had to learn about the difference between pre-qualified, pre-approval, and then what we do next after that. So like a loan commitment letter. So you have three types of letters that you can get from the bank. The first is pre-qualified, the second is pre-approval, and the third is a loan commitment letter. So one thing that you have to be aware of, which most people are, is when you're trying to get a new home, you want to make sure that you have the best credit score possible because you want to get a good interest rate if you're borrowing money from a bank. If you have enough money in the bank to purchase the home in full, you don't really need to worry about your credit score. But if you need to borrow money from a bank, you definitely don't want a really high interest rate. You want the best interest rate possible, and you also don't want to have to purchase other things like there are some other things that banks will require you to purchase if you don't have the best credit score. So in the end, it would end up costing you much more money. So, hi, David. David has joined us for Facebook Live. Hi. So, what we're talking about is the pre-qualified letter. The pre-qualified letter is really your first step in finding more information out about home ownership. And what do you need to do in order to get pre-qualified? So, you should look into banks that offer the best interest rates. So in my research, some of the banks that offer the best interest rates are credit unions. So I'm sure you've seen a lot of commercials, especially commercials on HGTV about internet companies. I really don't know about internet banks and things like that. I definitely recommend that you go with just a bank that you can trust. And so for me, in my research, credit unions have definitely given people some of the best rates. And so you want to kind of shop around and see, okay, which bank has some of the best credit interest rates. So the other thing that you want to also do, you want to look into programs that you qualify for. So if you are interested in programs like a first-time home buyers programs, Google it. Definitely, put in your state and find out what is available in your area. Every state is different, but you want to be able to have access to all the money that you can. Some first-time home buyers programs will pay your full closing costs. Some will give you money down. Especially, they're really trying to help people get into homes and just have a way of home ownership. So definitely look into programs, Google it, talk to friends. A lot of times, if you are with a credit union, they offer, they have financial advisors in their banks that you can use just being a member free of charge. Most of them are free. So definitely utilize those resources that are available to you. Hi, Tana. Tana has also joined us. Hi. So we are talking today about home ownership and just encouraging people to definitely explore home ownership and find out as much information as possible so that they can get the best rate as possible. So with pre-qualification, you want to have you're going to supply the bank with your social security number, with your assets, with your debts. You want to give them information so that they can find out how credit worthy you are. And that definitely helps them know if they should lend money to you. And so you want to make sure that you've paid off as many debts as you can. And you've also put some money aside so that you will have collateral for a down payment. So definitely pay off your debts, like credit card debts. If you can avoid using credit cards during this process, it's definitely helpful because throughout the process, they're going to recheck your credit just to make sure that you haven't went on ahead and made some very expensive purchase that no longer makes you as credit worthy as before. So hold off on buying big purchases like a car when you're thinking about home ownership. You want to kind of be very mindful of the things that are on your credit. Definitely, I want everybody to be aware that from the 3 financial credit bureaus, you will have access to getting 1 free credit report a year. So definitely take advantage of that and know what's on your credit. We're living in a time where the internet is, a lot of people are shopping on the internet, and that can make you vulnerable to people getting access to your identity and your credit information and using maybe your credit card or things like that. So you want to make sure that you're checking your credit on your own before you even think about home ownership. So be very financial savvy, know what you're spending and know, where your money is going and who has information on you as far as your credit goes. So another thing that you want to do, so the pre-qualification letter is not the same as a pre-approval letter. A pre-approval letter is when you've gone another step further, even beyond the pre-qualification letter. And basically, you're letting the bank know that you have an intention of getting a mortgage with that particular bank. So they're going to really rigorously check your credit information and go through all of that information to go a step further and tell your realtor that you're pre-approved. And that's going to be kind of one of the best letters that you can get stating whether or not you are ready to buy a home. So remember, definitely go through your credit information. You want to not make any new big purchases. And you're going to want to research what programs are available to you so that you can get the best credit score possible. You're also going to, so the pre-approved letter is going to let you know how much you are able to spend. So they're going to look at your job. A lot of times banks will want a 2 to 3 year work history. They're going to want letters from the past places that you've lived. So you want to make sure all of that stuff is in order. You don't want anyone saying something about you like you don't pay your bills and things like that. So definitely make sure that that you have that in order. If you've been staying with your parents or a relative and you don't have a traditional lease, you're going to want to make sure that they can have a letter stating, that you paid your bills on time, and you want to be able to prove that you can take on that sort of responsibility. Another thing that you're going to want to do besides the pre-approval and the first you do the pre-qualified, then you do a pre-approval, but a lot of times you can also go a step further and have a loan commitment. So different banks are going to have that further step to kind of give a new the person who's selling a house just that reassurance that if you say that you're interested in that home, that you can actually go ahead and buy it. So a loan commitment is basically it's issued by the bank, and it says that you're going to fill out basically an application, but the location of where you're going to buy that information is not going. So the location of what property you're actually buying is not going to be on the application, but all your other financial information is going to be on there. Some banks will also allow you to lock in an interest rate. If you're trying to buy when interest rates are low, you definitely want to lock in. Usually they have an expiration date, so you're not going to lock in for like a year or infinite period. It's usually going to be like 30 to 60 days, and 60 is really stretching it. Typically it's about 30 days. So that's something that you want to keep in mind when you're thinking about home ownership and purchasing your own home. Again, this is just part 1, where we were talking about the initial steps that you take for home ownership. So, definitely we're going to recap. So the first thing you do is research programs that you qualify for. So if you are in the military, there are going to be programs for you. If you are a teacher, there are going to be special programs for you to get you in a home. If you are a government contractor, there are going to be programs for you. Just kind of look at your situation, what job, what career you're in, and see, wait a minute, okay, so this is what I'm bringing to the table. Let me research what money is out there for me to get a home. And that's going to be your very first step. The next thing you're going to do is find a bank. Research those interest rates at credit unions and other banks in your area to see who can give you the best program possible. Some banks will even give you money back if you use a realtor within their service. So you're going to want to know, what are the banks offering me? Banks definitely want you to take out a loan with them. So a lot of times they will have enticing programs that are available to you. So check it out. Look at it and kind of see what option is best for you and your situation. After your pre-qualification letter, you're going to look at pre-approval, and then the last one is loan commitment. And then once you do that, you're going to hit the pavement and start looking. With next week's Finance Friday, we will go a little bit more in depth about what you do after you start looking. But definitely in those initial steps, with the bank, with the broker. A broker is the person who works at the bank who's lending you the money. Your realtor is the person who's helping you find a home. So within that, so if you have any questions about home ownership, we'll be doing part 2 next Finance Friday. If you have any questions, please let me know. I am on Facebook at Cleverly Changing. I am on Twitter at Cleverly Changing without the G. That's CLEVERLYCHANGIN. So definitely you can even email me. I'm at cleverlychanging@gmail.com. I look forward to kind of helping you become more aware of this process. If there's anything that I can do to help you and give you information, definitely let me know, because that's what I'm here for. All right, I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and please tune in next week. All right.